Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will be creating login and sign up using SQLite. It is kind of tricky because we will be dealing with queries and local database, but don't worry, I'll make the concept as simple as I can. Also, SQLite is not limited to login or sign up, okay? You can literally store anything in it. Got it? I have previously created a video on login and sign up using Firebase authentication. So if you are interested in that, you can click on the I button to watch. Now, coming back to the video, let's create the project. Choose empty views activity, then click on next. Name it as login sign up SQL. And then click OK. Let's do the prerequisite first. So go to colors.xml. Press Ctrl+D to duplicate the line. Write the color name as green and hex code as 4FA853. And done. Now go to themes.xml. Uncomment this line and write color name as green. Press Ctrl+D to duplicate the line and write item name as color primary variant. Then again duplicate the line and write item name as Android status bar color. And done. Then go to build.gradle. Here we will add view binding. So write build features. And inside that, write view binding as true. Then click on sync now. And done. Now to make our edit text look more fancy, we will create a border around it. So right click on drawable folder, then new, and then drawable resource file. Write the name as edit text underscore border. Then select shape and click OK. Give it a shape as rectangle. As I said, it's a border, so we will use stroke attribute. Give color as green and width as 2dp. Now I want the border to be a little rounded, so for that I'll use corners attribute and write the radius as 20dp. And done. Then, as I always say, I don't want to waste your time in designing. So for that, I will use a background. So let me copy paste it. And done. Again, I'll say please don't directly use image like this way. Instead, create this background using Jetpack Compose or XML. Don't go for shortcuts, okay? Next thing in prerequisite is to create obviously our login and sign up activity. So let me quickly do that. Make sure you tick the launcher in login activity. And done. See, we have a login activity and sign up activity, both. Now last thing, go to Android manifest. Here we want our first screen to be login activity screen. So for that we tick the launcher, right? But by default main activity is a launcher. So we need to remove this intent filter. And make exported as false. And that's it. Why I do this? Because if you won't remove extra intent filter, then it will create two apps with two different launcher screen. Got it? So make sure you avoid that situation. And with that said, we are done with all the prerequisites. Close all the tabs. Let's move to our designing part. So go to activity signup.xml. Let me give you a quick overview. The designing is very simple. We will have two edit text. One is for username and another one is for password. Then we will have one button for sign up. And lastly, we will have a text view that will redirect the user from sign up screen to login screen. And that's it. Let me quickly write the entire code and then I'll explain you the important parts. And done. See, we are using constraint layout. I have added the sign up background. Then I have created an edit text with the ID as sign up username and other attributes. Then again we have created an edit text with the ID as sign up password and input type as text password that will make the password in an asterisk format. Then we have a button whose ID is sign up button. And then lastly we have a text view whose ID is login redirect, where I have wrote the text as already registered login. And that's it. This is how it looks. I'll slowly scroll the code so that you can copy paste it. Alright, now let's move to activity login. We will use the same code with few changes. So copy the entire code. And paste it in activity login. Change the background. Then context. Here change the ID as login username. And here change the ID as login password. Then change the button ID as login button. And text as login. Then change the text view ID as sign up redirect. And text as not yet registered sign up. Lastly, change all the associate constraint IDs according to the new IDs. And done. That's it. This is how it looks. Then we need to redesign activity main.xml. So when the user will successfully logged in, then he will enter into activity main. So let me quickly redesign it. And done. We are done with all the designing part and now it's time for logic. Close all the tabs. Now listen to me carefully. As I previously said, SQLite involves queries, right? Queries as in instruction to insert the data, to delete the data, to read the data and to update the data. Got it? We will write all these queries and function in a class called as DatabaseHelper. So right click on package, then new and then Kotlin class. Write the name as DatabaseHelper. This is very important. Might look little complicated, but trust me, SQL queries are very simple. So I'll divide it in 6 steps, okay? Let me give you a quick overview. So in step number 1, we will declare all the constants. Then in step number 2, we will extend SQLite open helper. Then in step number 3, we will create table. Then in step number 4, we will drop the table. Then in step number 5, we will insert the new user. And finally, in last step, that is step number 6, we will read the user. And that's it. Let's do it step by step. So step number 1 is to declare all the constants. Let me quickly write it. And done. See, in Kotlin, companion object is used to define a singleton object within a class. Now what is singleton? So basically, a singleton ensures that a class has only one instance. And now what is instance? Basically the object. So this object can be accessed using the class name itself without creating an instance of the class. Then inside companion object, we have all the constant value. Means all of them are fixed values and cannot be changed. So first is database name, that is user database. Then database version as 1. Then table name as data. And then we have 3 columns, that is ID, username and password. Now step number 2 is to extend SQLite Open Helper. So first of all, I will pass a parameter as context that will provide access to various resources and services of the application. Then I will call SQLite Open Helper constructor. It is responsible for managing database creation. Now inside it, we will have 4 parameters. First is context. Then second one is database name. Then third one is cursor factory parameter, which we don't require, so I'll keep it as null. And finally, last one is database version. Inside SQLite Open Helper, we will override the onCreate and onUpgrade methods. That is our step number 3 and 4. So implement both the members. Now, step number 3, we will create a table using query. So first, let me write it. And done. Now see, I have created a variable called as createTableQuery and initialize it with a query. This is how the query goes. Create table, accessing the table name. Then inside the brackets, we will mention all the columns. So first column is column ID. Then will be an integer and primary key auto increment. Primary key is a concept of SQL. In simple word, it means to have a unique value for each item. Basically, it will act as a serial number. Then next column is username, and last column is password. That's how our table is created with 3 columns. Then after that, we have executed the query using database.executeSQL, and inside that I have mentioned the create table query variable, and that's it. Now, step number 4 is on upgrade function. We call this method when the database needs to be upgraded, typically when the database version is increased. Okay, so let me quickly write the code. And done. I have renamed it to make it more understandable. Now see, we have used create table query to create a table. So over here we have used drop table query to drop the table, means to remove the table from the database. So the query goes like drop table if exist, whatever the table name is. Then using execute SQL, we have executed the query. Once the table is dropped, then a new table will be created using onCreate method. And done. That's it. Now, step number 5 is to create insert user function. So let me quickly write it. And done. Now see, we have created a function named as insert user that takes 2 parameters as username and password. Okay. Long represents the return value, means that the function will return the row ID of the newly inserted record. Then we have created a values variable that contains the content values, which is a key value for inserting or updating the records in SQLite. And then apply function basically set the values. Then inside it, we have set values associated with its column using put. So basically, username is stored in column username and password is stored in column password. Simple, right? Then we have created a DB variable that calls writable database property. This property is a part of SQLite Open Helper class, which allows data modification. Then lastly, this line inserts the value specified by the table name and the values variable which we created before. And then finally, it will return the row ID of newly inserted item. And that's it. Now, step number 6 and our last step in Database Helper class is to read database. So let me quickly write it. and done. Here I have mentioned two parameters as username and password. Then boolean is a return value, means it will be either true or false. So if the user is present in the database, it will return true, otherwise false. Got it? Then I have created a variable as db that calls readable database property that basically reads or view the data. See, we will call insert user function in SignupActivity and read user function in LoginActivity. Got it? So this line specifies the condition for the query where the username and password column must match the provided username and password respectively. Then this line creates an array of selection arguments which is used to replace the question marks with username and password. Then this query retrieves the table name, selection and selection arguments. All of these are set to null because we don't require it. So basically selection and selection arguments should match. And if they does match, then it will return a cursor. Now what is cursor? It is basically a concept in SQL where cursor acts as a pointer to the rows in the database. Then we have created another variable as user exists. Now see, if the signup is successful, then database usually assign positive integers like 1, 2, 3. But if the signup is failed, then in that case, database assign negative integers like -1, -2. So the condition says as cursor count is greater than 0, means cursor is at positive integer, then it will be considered as user exists. Then the cursor will be closed and finally it will return boolean value as if the user exists, then it will return true. Otherwise, if the user does not exist, then it will return false. Simple, right? And that's it. Now simply we have to call this function in Signup and Login activity. So go to Signup activity. First, let me quickly set up binding. And done. Then as I said, we will be calling database function over here. So for that, we will require to declare and initialize database helper class. So let me quickly do that. And done. Now we will create a Signup database function that will take username and password from us. So let me quickly write it. And done. Now see, we have created a variable as inserted row ID that basically calls the insert user method from database helper class. it will take two parameters as username and password. Now, as I previously said that if the row ID is positive integer, that means Signup is successful. But if the row ID is negative integer, that means Signup is unsuccessful. That is what exactly we have used over here. So if inserted row ID is not equal to -1 long, that means inserted row ID is positive, which indicates Signup is successful. Hence, I have wrote a toast as Signup successful. And with the help of intent, I have redirected user to login screen. Else, if the Signup is unsuccessful, means the inserted row ID is in negative integer, then a toast will appear as Signup failed. Got it? Now, all of this will happen when user will click on Signup button. So, inside the onCreate method, write binding.SignupButton.setOnClickListener, and inside it, take the inputs from user through edit text. So let me quickly write it. And done. Once we have both the input values, we will call the Signup database function. And inside that, we will pass the Signup username and Signup password as arguments. Basically, it will take both the input values and using insert user method, it will store them in the table. Then lastly, we will create an intent on login redirect. So set on click listener on it. And inside that, create an intent that will redirect the user from sign up screen to login screen. And done. That's it. Similarly, we will do it in login activity as well. So let's do it quickly. Go to login activity. First, I'll set up binding. And done. Then declare and initialize the database helper class. And done. Then over here, we will create a login database function. So let me quickly write it. And done. Now see, we have a variable name called as user exist that basically calls the read user function from the database helper class. It takes two parameters as username and password. So if the user exists, then login is successful. Else, if the user does not exist, then it will throw a toast as login failed. Simple, right? Then we will call this function in login button. So set onClickListener on it. Then inside it, I'll take both the inputs from the user through edit text. So let me quickly write it. And done. Once I have both the input values, I'll call login database function. And inside it, I'll pass login username and login password as arguments. So basically, it will take the input values and with the help of read user function, it will check if the credentials is present in the database or not. Lastly, I'll set onClickListener on Signup redirect. So let me quickly write it. And done. It will redirect the user from login screen to sign up screen. And that's it. We are done with the coding part. Now let's run the app. This is how it looks. So the first screen is login screen. As we have not registered yet, so go to sign up screen. This is where I will create username and password. And done. I'll click on sign up button. And it says sign up is successful. Also, it automatically redirected us to login screen. Here, I will write the same credentials. Then I'll click on login button. And see, we are successfully logged in. Perfect. Now, how do we access SQLite database? First of all, make sure that you have installed simple SQLite browser plugin. I have already installed it. So now when the emulator is in running mode, then go to Device File Explorer. Here go to Data. Then again Data. Then find your app name. Here it is Login Signup SQL. Then go to Database. And inside it we have a database name, that is User Database. Click on it. Select your table name as Data. And see, with the help of SQLite plugin, we can view the table. This is a table with 3 columns in it. ID, username and password. All of them will be stored here. Got it? So yeah, that is it for the video. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing to my channel and I'll see you in the next video.